Hello, wherever you are in the world. Today we're bringing a special topic which has catapulted Sandy into living a extraordinary life. And it's going to be, drumroll please, about her near-death experience. And those are pretty rare and very interesting, right? So
Yes.
I'm going to let her take over and share about the near-death experience and what her actual experience was with the near-death. I know that it started it happened when you were 17, and you just woke up at night, and you can take it from there.
Okay. It was a long time ago. And I woke up and I couldn't breathe. That's all I can remember. And I ran into the bathroom and looked at myself, and I was blue, and I ran to my parents, and that was it. I fainted. I said, I can't breathe, and that's the last thing I remember consciously. And from that space on, I could feel myself moving upward. And I thought, what is going on? I think I just died. And I was uncomfortable for like a split second, and then all of a sudden it was all comfortable and continued the journey of moving upward. And I ended up face to face with the Spirit of God. And I was totally amazed, but not afraid, because the higher I got on the ascension of going up, the more I felt unconditional love, the more I felt warm, comfortable, knowing I belonged. All the things that you can't even imagine are available to you on this planet. On the ascension, they're all there, and you know it and you feel it. So as I appeared before the Spirit of God, I said, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? And
Did you ask where you were, or you
Yeah.
knew where you were, or you could sense where you were?
I knew and sensed both, but I wanted to know why, because I did feel that discomfort of, did I die?
Yeah.
So Spirit said, you requested this meeting, so what do you want? And I went, what? I requested it. Spirit said, yes, you did. You must have some questions. This is all on you. And I went, well, I do have a lot of questions, come to think of it. And from that moment on, I was totally comfortable with where I was, who I was with, and everything about it just moves succinctly and beautifully into a wonderful conversation. My first question was, I feel that I'm not getting the truth of who you really are on the planet, because I'm told we are sinners, we are bad, we don't live right, watch your step, you don't tell God what to do, you don't. All the don'ts. And I'm like, it just didn't make sense, because that meant I never got to ask you any questions. And to me, I'm like, well, if I can't ask God, who can I ask? Where can I go?
Right.
So being here with you now, I know where I can go and what I can say. It's total freedom. And it was kind of a cute answer, which is I call it, when he says to me, well, you have to look under more rocks and keep seeking. You have a different truth that you want to follow. And I went, oh, you mean that's it? And he said, yep, you cannot believe everything you hear. You cannot believe everything you see. You have to question life. Life is all about questions. Excuse me. So then we went on to talk about, what does that even mean? And the next platform of conversation was, we all live in a free choice society, including the Spirit of God, which means we choose, we choose, we choose, we choose. There is nothing else. So I said, what does that mean? And he said, exactly. You got here by choosing. You got here by asking a question. That was choosing to talk to me. So I said, oh, wow, that's amazing. And he said, yes, from the beginning of time, we created, because we were all in the beginning anyway, a free choice society, which meant we'd have the freedom to talk back and forth. So I said, like what? And he said, we put together the 12 universal laws. And one of those laws is the law of prosperity, where we all have everything we need. We all have the freedom of asking for what we need, the freedom of putting ourselves first to say, what's up now? All these things are just constantly in us anyway. We're asking those questions constantly, but we've never verbalized them or believed them. That was the key. So I said, oh, wow, that's amazing. In the law of freedom, the law of retribution, which is really not about us. People are going to get what they put out. That's all there is to it. We don't have to worry about it. And then he said, fold your arms, which I did, which I thought was a great visual. And I said, what am I doing? And he said, well, you're folding your arms, meaning you're cut off or closed down. And now when you look at a tree, do you see any trees with their branches folding, or they're always reaching out for the abundance, for the life, for the sunshine, for everything they need? That's what I want you to do, is live with your life wide open and your arms wide apart. And I went, I can't even explain how stunned I was, because this truth was all encompassing. It was just mind-blowing, which I know now my mind needed to be blown, because everything was created in our favor. Everything. That's just an amazing truth, if we can even grab one sliver of it.
Yeah, 5% of that maybe even is still big, right?
Well, the sliver of the 5% is the beginning, and that's what I mean. Even knowing we are loved beyond what we can even comprehend. Unconditional means nothing is put on us. We put it on ourselves. We are unconditional, loving ourselves through God, with God, and about God. And we stay in that space knowing we're not judged. And if you feel you're not judged, you'll ask a question freely. If you feel you're not judged, you'll act unconditionally. If you feel you're not judged, you'll make new friends. All this other stuff goes away.
Yeah, without the judgment, there's no restriction or no...
holding back. That's what we are so used to doing, holding back in silence. Like, what do I do? What do I say? All man-made. All man-made. So we went on to talk about the continuous 12 universal rules, and you can look those up, or laws, I should say, and see what they are, and it will blow your mind. So we continued to talk about things that concerned. I said I had a brother that passed later on after this, but before that situation, I learned that I could ask about anything. I could ask about healing. I could ask about finance. I could ask about my brothers, my sisters, my family. I could ask anything I want, and that freedom itself was just amazing. So if we fast forward a little bit, my life began to change. Amazing. Not that I turned into a miracle worker when I hit the floor running, because I woke up under a lung machine and they were forcing oxygen into my body. So I was very quiet about that, and I didn't tell anybody for 20 years on purpose, knowing I would be put in a position of doubt and conversation that I would not violate the relationship that I now developed with the God who he really is. So fast forward, I was put in situations where I could ask for healing, not only heal a scratch or a wound, but healing miracles. Because from that day on, I asked more questions than an encyclopedia. So every time I hit a block, what was considered an old block in the road, I would say, what do I do? How can I change this? What can I say? And I asked for healing. I asked for all kinds of things as it came along. And all of them were addressed and answered through listening to your inner spirit, your inner talking, your inner messages, which we all have. But let me tell you, when we hear them at first, we go like this: that can't be true. Oh, that can't be possible. Oh, I can't say that. Well, all of that is your real life.
What do you mean by that? Like, explain that more. Like, your real life that you're pushing down and you're not trusting the inner self?
You're not,
or the guidance from God, like, because you are God, but
yes.
I think people don't understand that part.
The inner you, when you hear that still small voice, it's the God in you with you, speaking clearly and loudly. And I had a lot of healing opportunities to ask Spirit, what do I do? And I'll give one that is really could have been very tragic and turned out to be very miraculous in 1 year. My husband, Audra's father, got in a truck accident and ended up on the road, in the middle of the road, which split his head from side to side. So he was totally diagnosed with one, what would you call it?
Only half of his body working, or like...
Only half of his body was working. And besides that, 2 men pulled him off the road and out of the way and from dying that never showed up, never gave their names, but called the emergency in the hospital. So that was the first miracle. The second one was he was diagnosed to pass in 24 hours, within 24 hours, because your head, once it's split in half like that, cannot contain the swelling, which is critical. So I said, because of my near death, okay, Spirit, I know that we all have our own lives, our own way to handle things, and that if he wants to go home to you, he will, and I'm okay with that now because of the near death. But if he chooses to come back and we're in this together, I want him totally 100% healed, and I will take that as a promise and a miracle. I had 4 children by then, so
all under the age of like 13.
Yes,
so
more like
or even younger.
Even younger.
I'm not even sure.
Exactly. So when he lived through the night and the next day, and there were no explosions, thank the Lord, I knew everything would be okay. Not that it would be easy, but that it would be okay. So that was my first miracle. And then he had a couple, the doctors came in and said, well, we have to do surgery on his bowels. And I went, oh, really? Not now. Give me 24 hours. And that was a still small voice. I would have not done that before. I just knew I couldn't answer.
You were young. You were probably like in your
early 20s, and
was it 20s or 30s around there?
No.
Okay. I'm just trying to go back because, like, I'm saying, like, you don't have that kind of wisdom when you're that.
That's what I was going to explain.
Yeah, right.
I would not have hesitated.
Yeah.
I would not have been able to say to a doctor and to their surgical blah, 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 and trust. I said, no, you'll have to wait till I come back tomorrow and I'll give you the answer. So I came back the next day, and that still small voice I heard call an orderly into the room and have them take him into the bathroom. His body will know what to do. Now, for all of you listening to that one, that is out of bounds and cuckoo. But they did it. And they had him in there for a while. And the report when they came out was he had a bowel movement and he went to the bathroom on his own. He urinated. So that totally avoided that surgery. And I went, that's what you get for asking a question and believing in God. Mm-hmm. So that love is so unconditional, but you have to ask, you have to participate, you have to choose to have that walk with Spirit, because it has so much to offer that's really why you're here. Then there was another time they came in and said we have to do surgery on his stomach because he's not going to be able to swallow and we don't know for how long. And again, that still small voice said, wait till tomorrow. And I said, I'll give you an answer tomorrow. And of course, they're always shocked, like you don't rush to their...
Well, first, you shouldn't even be crossing the doctors back then or asking any questions. And then you waited 20... It was like the magic of waiting the 24 hours, which is like amazing in itself, right? Because it was like time was of the essence, so it appeared, right? And then you kept saying another 24 hours, but
Right.
each 24 hours was like almost another mini miracle. But
Well, it was another 24 hours of healing in the silence. And then the next day when I came back, I said, bring him baby food, meat, vegetable, and dessert. And they went, no way. And I said, yes way, you have to do this. This is what I have to do. I will teach him to swallow. He was unconscious for a few weeks, and now he's awake. He doesn't have a memory of anything, not the accident, but he can listen and do. So I said, bring it and I'll take responsibility. He said, no, he'll choke to death. I said, please just bring it and I'll let you know how it goes. I won't feed him if he's going to choke to death, believe me. So I asked him to open his mouth and then put in the fruit to begin with and said, now swallow. And he swallowed. His body knew what to do, even though we couldn't see it. So he ate the whole meal, the meat, the vegetables, and the fruit. He ate it, and I'm sure he enjoyed it. So they were just totally, the doctors, the orderlies, the nurses were just totally in shock. So from that day on, he ate real food. So another way to our hearts and how we live is through that spirit who says, if you pause, you'll get the answer. If you wait on me, meaning us, and we can talk about this,
right,
you'll get your answer. So those
and I'm sure that was not easy for you either.
No,
you know what I mean? You had to use your voice. You had to sit in that space, right, of knowing and trusting for 24 hours. I mean, that there was a lot going on then and there, so I can't even imagine that.
But that felt better than yes, do it.
That's good.
So I knew somehow, and I know it's a near-death experience, that I had the courage to do it, that I needed to do it, and that I wanted to do it, and that I wanted a new life of miracles and living independently out of being led into what I don't believe anymore.
Right.
Which was not lifting enough rocks, if you remember.
Right.
So from that day on, his physical therapy went miraculous. The girl who was in charge of him said she never saw anybody heal and listen. What was funny is he didn't have the initiative to do it himself, but if you asked him to do it, he was all in with everything. The food, the bathroom, the physical therapy. So she said she never saw anybody work as hard and heal as fast as he did. So we were up and out of the hospital with that critical within 6 to 8 weeks. I don't remember anymore, but it was miraculous. He needed a walker, but the fact was he walked out of there on his own. So, and the next thing was taking him home and reminding him constantly that he could not walk because he couldn't remember. And it was a day-by-day experience where God instructed every single day what to do, where to start. Without a memory, he couldn't even put together my 4-year-old puzzle. But Spirit said, put it in front of him and let him figure it out. I'm telling you, we have brains that are miraculous.
Yeah, right.
He didn't match. Then all of a sudden it matched. He picked up another piece, didn't match, matched. So I don't know.
It was like the body was working.
Well, the body always works.
Yeah.
And I had a friend calling me, a doctor friend, a neurologist, call me and keep me up to date and said the brain is 10% of the brain is used. So if his 10% was totally lost, guess what, Sandy? You have 90% to work with. He has 90% to work with. And that's what I saw for the next 9 months, is his brain saying, take your right hand, try here, take your right hand, doesn't work, try again, all without any talking and any instructing. I saw his brain operate miraculously from what and how we're made. So within a year, he was back to his life of being an electrician.
Totally normal, totally healed.
Right. And no helmet, which they said he'll never be able to wear. He'll never be able to go without wearing a helmet. And I said, what? And he said his skull will be too soft, too whatever they told me. And I said, oh. I can't see that happening. Well, it didn't, and he didn't need it. So that was another one. Just little things that they kind of put in the catalog of what will be coming, and then all he did with my agreement and our agreement, I'm sure on the other side, was not that, not that, not that. This is how it's going to be. So it was just totally a mind redo, a mind reset. And that's why we talk about mindset so often, because the mind gets set into patterns, habits, and things we see. But the mind can also get set with the unseen, with the unknown, and with the small, small voice that comes from within and says, you're okay. You're okay. Keep going, or keep doing, or just keep pausing, because that answer will come. So,
and didn't you set up in the hospital, like when you weren't there, because you were there a lot, you also set up like the cassette tapes, because that's all we had back then, but weren't you constantly playing Bible verses and cassette tapes, I thought? I remember that.
Yeah, I was playing.
So you were always like
I didn't put them in charge of talking, and did not give them authority to do anything.
Right.
They had to call me for everything, and the only thing that he could listen to was positive affirmations, Bible verses, or hopeful music.
Yes.
Not anything else, because that's what the brain needed to hear to develop into what was later called a total healing.
Right. So it was no news, no playing just random TV. It was this is what's happening.
And he could have no visitors. It was just me. No children, not his parents. He didn't know any better because he had lost his total memory. So it was just me. But I would talk about his family, and he would just nod and go, okay, but no visitors, because he was too seriously ill as far as the damage. So
yeah, right.
So that was just an amazing. And all I can say is, you are loved beyond what you can even imagine. There is nothing you can do wrong, and that you've got this lifetime, and every lifetime you have, you've got it because you're planning it, and you are working with none other than the loving, unconditional Creator, who we were there all along.
Yes. And I have a question about the unconditional love and the unconditional acceptance. Was that a struggle almost to come back because it was so euphoric?
No.
No?
Okay. Not at all. It's never been challenged. But I have to tell you, I was dropped into the universal world the way we know it. So the challenges came, and I didn't really know what to do with them or how to handle them, because I didn't have a new schedule to follow. So I still had the struggle as far as, what do I do with this?
I meant wanting to return, instead, you could have stayed when he said
I didn't do that part, I forgot.
Yeah, yeah.
I did forget that, I'm sorry. I said, after we had this wonderful meeting, okay, what do I do now? And Spirit looked at me and said, what do you mean? What do you do now? And I said, well, I'm here with you. I died, so where do I go from here? And again, I was reminded of, you asked for this meeting by choice, and you come and stay here, or you leave by choice. And I said, you're kidding. And Spirit said, no, do you want to go or do you want to stay? And I said, after this meeting, I know I have to go back. I have things to do. So that's when I found myself in the iron lung, receiving oxygen. So to get back to your question, I never shared that because I knew it would be so challenging for people not only to hear, believe, and just know. So,
but I meant the part where you're with God, it's unconditional, and then
no, it didn't.
Since you made the choice, it was easy to come back. Probably the answer, right? Because
it was easy to come back knowing
you had
who I was and who God is.
That's what I wanted to know.
So as I moved forward, I used this unconditional love to continue asking.
Catapult you.
And what?
Catapult you into learning the
truth. I didn't act any different right away. I didn't even know how to act or how to, not talking to spirit was totally different than saying, how do I change the situation? I didn't even begin to put that truth together until the day-by-day walk. You would think, oh, you went down there and we're totally different. Guess what? No, I still had the same challenges, same questions, and had to learn how to make the choice of asking, then doing, pausing, then asking. And it came together one step at a time. But with it was the assurance that it was coming. That's what that unconditional love is.
Okay.
So that's why that feeling never left and never, it just never left.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like, it almost felt like it left, but it didn't. You brought that with you. And then...
Well, because that is who we are.
Right.
So I had the example of this is who I am.
Okay,
I don't know how to live it, but I know I've experienced it now. So now I'm going to take it from experience and learn how to apply the experience
in the day-to-day.
And day-to-day using the wisdom. What does that mean? Well, the first thing I learned was you have to start asking and talking from your within person, which is the Godhead of you.
Right.
So that was the most critical step I had to make and learn and stick to, that I was free all the time and all I had to do was continue asking and talking. So to make a long story short, it was miraculous all the way around.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you have it.
Yeah. I just want you to know that you are not only loved on a physical, in the physical with a physical feeling and touch, and which is wonderful. You are unconditionally loved by yourself too, which is covered over, and God, the Godhead in there would never cover it and not reveal to you.
Right.
Who you are.
Right.
That was just something missing, and we don't really want to go back there.
Yeah, I've heard other near-death experiences, so they say that it was really hard to like not come back because of the unconditional love and acceptance. But you're saying you brought it with you and know that's part of you. That's why.
Yeah, I realized that my experience was to learn who I was as an unconditional soul to live in this world and offer hope to everybody.
Wow.
And
that's profound.
I cannot ever get away from, I never say there's no hope to anybody or believe it about anybody. I always believe there's hope, and that hope started the minute I was conscious. I didn't know how to define it, but I know I could never doubt any God's love in any way ever again. So that's where...
And that would be ridiculous to think there wasn't hope after that experience anyway, right?
It's like, yeah, exactly.
Wait a second, I'm not going that way. I'm going the other way for sure.
Yes, and then later on in my life, after my kids were grown and I started wanting to coach and do things, Spirit came to me after I lost my oldest son in a seminar that I was learning to even be more of who I wanted to be unconditionally. Spirit said, "You are now known as the Hope Spinner." And I said, "You have to be kidding. I cannot imagine what that would even mean with the loss of my son and how people get through that type of grief and how different it feels." So anyway, once I was initiated into the Hope Spinner and accepted it, I knew that was my reason for learning unconditional love, my reason for going through different healings. And I lost a brother when he was 33, and I can honestly say with each one of those times, without knowing I was going to be known as the Hope Spinner from inward out, I never lost hope for there's got to be another way and there's got to be another reason, and people who go home are just going home.
Yeah, right.
And that's their choice.
Right.
So
And they really don't die.
no, they just
their
take a turn.
soul just goes and they move places like down the street, basically,
Yeah.
right?
In
their
different community.
Yeah, right.
I'll never
So it doesn't
forget
have
what
to be
my
scary
what
or-
Ed said to me.
Yeah.
Mom, I'm just in another suburb a few miles away, and
Right.
I went, okay.
Right.
Hard to take, but true.
Right, because the soul is always present and
Yeah.
always shows you all kinds of goodness if you live knowing in that hope that, of course, there's no separation. Of course, there's no...
We had no separation, only the ones we define.
Mm-hmm.
So you can talk to your loved ones anytime you want. You can
And they'll talk back.
exactly.
That's right.
They'll answer.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Yeah.
have to know we have no limits, and that's what that taught me. I had no limits, but I still had to learn the hard way. In the so to speak, the physical way is also it has this road, this road, this road, this road, and you finally meet it over here. Okay, but you need those necessary steps as you move along because they are teaching.
Right. Those are learnings, and they're
Yep.
big learnings, and you have to go through those learnings so that you can share from the place of knowing, because you actually learn and know, and then you can help. Then you weave in that hope because you've already like really been through it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So again, Earth School and the learnings,
Yes.
but I love how now that after hearing your story that we can all know that we are unconditionally loved.
Absolutely. There is no non-acceptance. You're already in the bag.
Right. That brings tears to my eyes.
Yes,
like
it's
Woo!
very moving. It's very moving and very satisfying to know how loved we are.
Oh gosh. And take that and run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take it and run. Mm-hmm. Feel into the goodness, feel into the energy, feel into the truth, because that's who you are at your core.
Yep. That's
So
who
with
you
that, is that everything then you'd like to share, or is there more, or did we hit all the key points for this little fun video of hope?
Faith is the substance of what?
Things not seen.
Mm-hmm. The hope of things to come.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't bring. Faith is the substance of hope, and hope carries the faith, faith carries the hope, and brings all substance into our lives. That's the walk. And I think that's Hebrews 11:1 if you want to look it up. But faith is a noun, and that substance is a noun, hope is a noun. It's all filled with actual experiences.
Yes.
And I tapped on the thing to make it, yes, it's
to
true.
nail it in.
Nail it in. It
That's
is
right.
absolutely true. So ask for anything you want. Ask for any change. Ask for anything you need. And go within and receive it, and it will show up in your life.
And hope is real, and hope is truth, and you have to have you get to have the hope.
Well, think about how you feel when somebody offers you
you're
hope
like,
as
right.
a reason for they're going through something, and you're going, oh, but what about this and what about this? And you
Then
give
they
them
can
options.
yeah.
They're like, oh my gosh,
I can do that. That might work. I got it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So take the hope and run. If you have any questions, leave it below. If you want to hear another video about part of this or have it explained even more, we would love to share that too. So,
And if we get enough people wanting to have a question and answer, please, I will do a
we
question
can do
and
a
answer.
live somewhere and just do Q&A on the near death.
Yes, but we'll have to have enough people to do it. Okay.
Fair enough. Everyone take that and run and just enjoy the journey and live in living hope.
Absolutely, and living love.
Mm-hmm.
The love is in you, around you, above you, below you. You can't get away from it.
That's right. Your only love.
Yep.